They often ask me how I survived, not just the camps, but the days after. The days when the body was free, but the soul remained behind, crouched in a corner of memory, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting to be touched. I survived, not because I was strong, not because I was lucky, but because something inside me refused to die. That something had no name in the beginning. It was not hope. Hope was too fragile. It was not faith. Faith had been silenced too many times. It was not love. Love had been ripped from my hands in the form of faces I would never see again. No, what remained was more quiet, more steady, more stubborn than all of these. What remained was the question. I carried the question like a flame cupped in trembling hands. What is the meaning of this? And later, is there meaning in this? And finally, can I create meaning from this? The world I knew had been built on the assumption that life should make sense, that justice would prevail, that good people would be rewarded and evil would be punished, that suffering was an interruption, an anomaly, something to be fixed or forgotten. But I learned that suffering is not an interruption. It is a part of the path. Sometimes it is the path. People believe they suffer because something is wrong. I believe we suffer because something is trying to be born. Suffering carves us out from the inside, makes room for a deeper understanding, a truer love, a more honest life. It strips us not to punish us, but to reveal us. Before the camps, I lived with ideas. I wrote books, gave lectures, offered therapy to those whose pain still lived in language. After the camps, I lived with silence. I no longer needed to explain. I needed only to witness. You are not meant to escape suffering. You are meant to use it. Not as a weapon, not as a badge, but as a door. Every pain you feel is a question. Every ache is an invitation. Not all of you will accept it. Many will run, numb, distract, perform, protect. But if you are quiet enough, broken enough, the invitation will remain. And if you step through it, you will discover that the thing you feared most is the thing that might save you. I remember one evening in the camp, the snow falling like ashes, the sky too low, like it was a shame to watch. We were marching. Always marching. Some collapsed. Some whispered prayers. I whispered nothing. I walked, and somewhere in the blankness of that moment, I saw her face. Not in front of me, not beside me, but inside me, my wife. Her image came like a breath on the back of my neck, like light in a sealed room. And in that moment, I knew. Love is stronger than the absence of the beloved. Meaning is stronger than despair. And freedom is not the absence of chains, but the presence of a choice. That choice is yours, always, even now. Especially now. Especially now. You do not choose what happens, but you choose who you become in the face of it. And that choice, small as it seems, is the axis on which your entire life turns. I have seen men starve and still give their last bread to another. I have seen men beaten and still smile at a child. I have seen the dying carry the living in their arms. Do not tell me we are victims of circumstance. We are not. We are stewards of response. You think you are weak. You think the pain proves you are failing. But the pain is not a verdict. It is a call. A call to become what you were too afraid to be before. A call to shed the skin that was never truly yours. A call to die, yes, but only so that you may live more truly. Suffering is the fire in which all illusions are burned. And when they are gone, what remains is something the world cannot touch. You do not need to be happy. Happiness is an effect, not a cause. A shadow, not a substance. Chase it, and it vanishes. Serve something greater, and it appears. You do not need to be safe. Safety is a prison when it becomes your God. You do not even need to be understood. Understanding is rare, and often overrated. What you need is to live in truth. What you need is to find a reason to get up when everything in you says lie down. What you need is to make your pain speak, not to others, but to yourself. The world will tell you to heal quickly, to be positive, to let go. But healing is not linear, and positivity without depth is poison. Let go when it is time, not when it is convenient. Sit with the pain until it has finished its sentence. Listen to it without interrupting. Suffering speaks in riddles, in symbols, in silence. but it always tells the truth. Are you brave enough to hear it? I was not always brave. I was afraid many times. Afraid of forgetting. Afraid of forgetting. Afraid of surviving only to find that survival had no meaning. But fear is not the opposite of courage. Cowardice is. Courage is action in the presence of fear. It is saying yes when the whole body screams no. It is walking forward when there is no promise of light. It is getting up again and again, not because you must, but because you may. You are not obligated to find meaning, but you are invited. Life is always inviting you. Life is always inviting you. Some invitations come as joy. Some come as love. Some come as loss. The hardest to accept are those written in suffering. But these are often the most urgent. They arrive like winter, cold, severe, honest. They do not flatter. They do not bargain. They do not lie. But they will transform you if you let them. The meaning of your suffering is not in the suffering itself. It is in the response it demands. Not every pain has a purpose, but every pain is a place where purpose can be planted. And sometimes the seed grows not in this life, but in the soul of someone you never meet. You are not only living your own story. You are participating in a web of meaning that stretches across generations, across borders, across time. The way you carry your suffering may give someone else the strength to carry theirs. I have written books, I have given lectures, but nothing I have said matters more than this. Your suffering is not meaningless unless you decide it is. Meaning is not discovered. It is made. It is forged in the fire. It is chosen again and again in the face of the absurd. Even when God is silent, even when the night is long, even when the pain returns. Especially then, you are not the first to suffer. You will not be the last. But no one else will suffer exactly as you do. Your pain is unique, which means your response can be, too. You can use it to harm, you can use it to harden, or you can use it to awake, soften, to heal, not only yourself, but the world. I once believed, like many do, that the goal of life was to avoid pain, to arrange existence in such a way that discomfort would never reach too deeply. I believed this because I was raised in a world that praised ease, that rewarded comfort, that looked suspiciously at those who lingered too long in sorrow. But sorrow is not the enemy. It is a well, and if you have the courage to descend, you will find not despair at the bottom, but depth. There is a strange clarity that arrives when everything else has been taken, when food becomes a dream, when names are replaced by numbers, when death becomes not an event, but a presence. Then, and perhaps only then, you begin to ask the right questions. What am I without what I own? Who am I without the roles I have clung to? What remains when the mirrors are gone, and no one is left to tell me who I should be? And the answer, though terrifying in its simplicity, is this. What remains is choice. Not the freedom to go where you want or say what you please, but the deeper freedom, the one that cannot be revoked, the freedom to choose how you will meet your fate. And in that freedom lies dignity. A dignity that cannot be taken, only surrendered. I saw men surrender it. I saw them collapse not from hunger, but from hopelessness. I saw them forget their names, their pasts, the people they once were. And I saw others, gaunt, sick, near death, stand straighter than kings because they refused to let the world define the terms of their humanity. They held onto a promise no one else could see, that there was still something worth living for, even if it could not be touched. You may not be in a camp, but you are suffering. That I know. You are walking through a wilderness of your own. Loss, confusion, isolation, shame. They dress differently now, but their voice is the same. And I'm here not to take that away from you, but to walk beside you long enough for you to hear what it's trying to tell you. We have taught people to fear the void, but the void is sacred. It is the space in which something new can emerge. When your dreams collapse, when the future you built disappears, when nothing makes sense anymore, do not rush to fill that emptiness. Let it breathe. Let it speak. It is there in the silence that something ancient stirs. We were not made to be entertained. We were not made to be perpetually content. We were made to search, and sometimes that search is lit by joy, but more often it is lit by anguish. Do not curse the anguish. It is doing a holy work. It is tearing down the false so that something real may take its place. People come to me and ask how to escape their pain. I do not tell them how. I tell them to stop escaping, to face it, to ask it questions. Because pain has information. Pain is a compass. Pain, when listened to without resistance, reveals not only what is broken, but what is most essential. And what is essential is always the same. You must become who you are meant to be. Not who your parents told you to be. Not who society celebrates, but the one who can look in the mirror, even a shattered mirror, and say, yes, I see you. You are scarred. You are trembling. But you are here. You are still here. And as long as you are here, you are capable of meaning. This is not a platitude. It is not optimism. It is reality. Meaning is not an abstraction. It is something you live, even in the small things, especially in the small things, in how you speak to the one who serves your coffee, in how you hold yourself in grief, in whether you choose to forgive when the wound is still fresh. These are the moments when meaning is made, or missed. You are waiting for a sign, but the sign is already here. It is your breath. It is your sorrow. It is your desire for more. That desire is not selfish. It is sacred. It means there is something in you that knows this is not all, that there must be something deeper, more enduring, more true. Listen to that part of you. Feed it. Trust it. It will not betray you. We live in a time of unprecedented access, comfort, information. And yet never before have so many felt so empty. Why? Because we have mistaken stimulation for satisfaction. We have confused knowing with understanding. We have confused knowing with understanding. We have been taught to treat our lives like problems to be solved, rather than mysteries to be lived. Your life is not a problem. Your suffering is not a glitch. It is the terrain you must cross to become whole. Do not seek to remove it too quickly. Walk through it with reverence. Let it mark you. Let it change you. Let it strip away what is not essential. I lost everything, but in that loss, I found the thread that cannot be cut, the thread that runs through every human heart, the longing for meaning, the hunger for truth, the need to give oneself to something greater. That thread is your lifeline. Do not lose it. Even when everything else falls away, hold that thread like it is the only thing left. Because sometimes it is, and sometimes that is enough. Linear. There will be moments of rage, moments of numbness, moments when you cannot tell if what you feel is real or imagined. That is part of it. Do not rush through it. Stay long enough in your sorrow to learn its name. Walk slowly enough through your sadness to see what it carries. Beneath every grief is love. Beneath every fear is a longing for connection. Beneath every anger is a wound that wants to be seen. You are not too sensitive. You are not too weak. You're simply awake. And in a sleeping world, wakefulness will always feel like pain. But it is not pain. It is life. It is awareness. It is the price of presence. And presence is what transforms suffering into meaning. There is no shortcut. There is only this: to stay, to feel, to choose. Choose not to give in to bitterness. Choose not to make pain your identity. Choose to let it move through you until it becomes something else. Not because you are noble, not because you are strong, but because that is how you stay human. Do not be fooled by appearances. Some of the most shattered people walk with the brightest smiles. Some of the most whole are those who have been broken many times, but never lost their capacity to love. Love is the antidote. Not romantic love, not sentimental affection, but love as the radical affirmation of life. Love as the refusal to give up on what is still good. Love as the courage to see beauty, even in ruin. I once looked at a sunset through barbed wire. The sky was burning gold and crimson, and the world beyond the fence felt like a memory of something holy. I could have turned away. I could have said, "What use is beauty now?" But I didn't. I let it in. I let that single moment remind me that nothing, no system, no cruelty, no darkness, can take away my capacity to respond. And my response was yes. Even now, yes, that is your power. Not control, not perfection. Response. Will you respond to life, even when it does not reward you? Will you say yes, even when everything you love has been taken? Will you open your heart, not because it is safe, but because it is true? The meaning you seek is not hidden in books, in careers, in applause. It is hidden in the way you endure what you did not choose. It is hidden in your fidelity to what matters most, when nothing makes sense. It is hidden in your tears, in your questions, in your silence. The meaning is not in the answer. It is in the fact that you keep asking. Keep asking, keep asking. Keep holding that thread, however thin. You are being shaped, even now, not into something else, but into yourself. The self that was always there, waiting beneath the masks, the noise, the fear. That self does not need to be perfect. It only needs to be honest. It only needs to be honest. It only needs to stay. You may not know the way forward. That's fine. Just take one true step. One step toward what you love. One step away from what is killing your soul. One step toward honesty, toward compassion, toward presence. Then another, then another, then another. And suddenly you are walking again. Not away from your pain, but through it. And on the other side, something waits. Not certainty, not safety, but depth, clarity. A life that means something. Not just to others, to you. Sometimes we ask for transformation without understanding what it demands. We want to change, but we want to stay comfortable. We want to become, but we do not want to lose. We want the light, but without the fire. Yet nothing lasting comes without cost. No soul deepens by remaining the same. The self you cling to now, afraid, distracted, restless, that self must be shed, not because it is wrong, but because it is too small for who you're becoming. I remember how attached I was to the man I had been before the camps. He was educated, he was respected, he was loved, but he was also layered in illusions. About control, about fairness, about what he thought life owed him. The man who walked out of the camps was stripped of all that. And in that bareness, I finally saw something clearer than I had ever seen. That we are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we bear it. The world may admire what you do, but your soul is watching who you become. It is easy to perform when you are praised, when your efforts are visible. But when the lights are off, when no one is watching, when your heart is breaking and still you choose not to close it, that is where meaning is forged. We often think meaning is a moment, a sudden revelation, but it's more often a quiet decision repeated over time. You wake up. You choose not to give up. You speak kindly when it would be easier to stay silent. You forgive. You try again. That is meaning. Not in what you achieve, but in what you embody. I do not ask you to enjoy your pain. I would never ask that. I ask only that you allow it to shape you. Because suffering that is denied festers, but suffering that is integrated becomes strength. Not allowed strength. Not allowed strength. Not the kind that shouts or commands, but the kind that endures, that sees, that holds others with gentleness because it remembers what it means to be broken. Sometimes the most meaningful thing you can do is keep living, not out of obligation, but out of defiance, out of sacred rebellion against the voice that tells you nothing matters, because something always matters. If not to the world, then to one person. If not to another, then to yourself. If not now, then someday. And if you cannot believe that, then let me believe it for you. Let me hold that space for you until you can feel it yourself, because I have seen the worst of humanity, and I still believe in its beauty. I have seen cruelty, and I have seen kindness rise up beside it like a flower growing through cement. You are capable of that kindness, even now, especially now. There will come a time when the memory of this pain will soften. Not disappear, but soften. It will become part of you like a scar that no longer throbs. And in its place, there will be a kind of quiet wisdom. Not loud, not proud, but steady. And from that steadiness, you will love differently. More honestly, more fiercely, because now you will understand what it means to lose. That understanding is a gift. You would not have asked for it, but now that you have it, use it well. Use it to see others. Use it to forgive. Use it to remind yourself that every soul is fighting a battle, and most of them are doing it in silence. We are taught to fix, to solve, to improve, but sometimes healing comes not from fixing what is broken, but from loving what is wounded. And then that begins with how you speak to yourself. Do you rush your grief? Do you shame your anger? Do you silence your questions? Or do you sit with them as you would sit with a grieving friend? Gently, patiently, without needing to change the subject. You are not a project to complete. You are a being to accompany. Accompany yourself. Especially in the long nights. Especially in the long nights. Especially when the old stories resurface. Especially when you forget that you are worthy of peace. You don't need to be fearless. You only need to be willing. Willing to keep walking. Willing to feel. Willing to choose truth over comfort. That willingness is everything. It is the birthplace of transformation. I remember once after the war, standing in front of a mirror and not recognizing the man who stared back at me. His eyes were darker, his mouth thinner, but deeper than that, he looked like someone who had died and come back, not in body, in soul. And though I mourned the man I had been, I also gave thanks, because now I understood something I never could have learned any other way, that the soul is not destroyed by suffering, it is revealed by it. You will survive this, not because you are invincible, but because something in you is still saying yes, even now, even here. There is a kind of silence that enters you after great suffering, not the silence of peace, but the silence of having seen too much. A silence where words feel like dust in the mouth, where small talk becomes unbearable, and where the only truths worth saying are the ones you can barely whisper to yourself. That silence is not emptiness, it is a doorway, a threshold, a sacred space between who you were and who you will become. Do not be afraid of that silence. It is where the soul rewrites itself. The world often demands that you move on quickly. It wants neat endings, smiling recoveries, a return to normal. But when you have truly suffered, there is no return. There is only integration. You carry the past with you, not as a burden, but as a thread. It weaves into your choices, your gaze, your voice. The goal is not to erase the wound, but to walk with it so gracefully that it becomes part of your wisdom. You are not failing because you still feel pain. You are not broken because you cry in the dark. The ones who never cry are not strong. They are frozen. You are not meant to freeze. You are meant to burn. Not with rage, but with aliveness, with truth, with presence. And that means you will grieve. That means you will ache. That means life will sometimes bring you to your knees. And that is not weakness. That is prayer. I used to think meaning was something we found. But I have come to believe that meaning is something we give. To each moment, to each breath, to each injustice we endure without letting it destroy our inner world. You don't wait for meaning to arrive. You speak it into being by the way you show up, again and again. When no one is clapping, when no one understands, when nothing makes sense, and you will be misunderstood. Some will think your suffering has made you strange. They will not know how to sit with your depth. They will retreat to the surface and invite you to join them. Smile more. Move on. Don't dwell. But your heart cannot go backward. It has tasted something real, and once you taste the real, illusion becomes unbearable. So let them go. Let the shallow things fall away. You are being carved into something rare. Let yourself be rare. Let yourself be. You do not need to fit in. You need to remain true. True to what your pain has taught you. True to what your silence has revealed. True to what your soul already knows. That this life is not about avoiding suffering, but about choosing how you will carry it. And how you carry it, that is where your greatness lies. Not in your achievements. Not in how well you perform the roles given to you. But in how you suffer, how you wait, how you hope when hope feels foolish, in how you love after loss, in how you keep your hands open, even when life keeps taking. Do not measure your healing by how little you cry. Measure it by how honestly you live, by how gently you treat your own heart, by how willing you are to live without masks. That is healing. That is courage. That is the quiet revolution of the soul. And it matters. Your healing matters, not just for you, but for the world. Because every soul that refuses to become bitter makes the world more humane. Every person who chooses to love again after betrayal bends history just slightly toward light. You are not healing alone. Your story is part of something larger, something holy, something needed, so keep going. Even when it's slow, even when no one notices, even when your faith flickers and your knees shake, keep walking toward the life that calls you. The life that still exists on the other side of this ache. You don't have to know the way. You only have to say yes. One breath at a time. One choice at a time. You have already survived so much. Let that be proof that you are not done yet. Let it remind you that you are more than what you've lost. More than what you fear. You are still here. And if you are still here, then meaning is still possible. And if meaning is still possible, then everything is still worth it. There will be days when everything you've learned will feel far away. When the meaning you once held so tightly will loosen its grip. When silence returns not as peace, but as absence. And on those days, you may wonder if any of this was real. If any of the hope you dared to carry was anything more than a dream whispered into darkness. Do not be afraid of those days. They are part of it too. The soul, like the seasons, has its winters. But winter is not the end. It is the root. It is the place beneath the surface where life gathers, where meaning thickens, where truths grow slow and invisible. You are not going backward. You are deepening. Let it be slow. Let it be quiet. Some of the most profound transformations happen beneath our awareness. Meaning is not a trophy. It is not a conclusion. It is a companion. It walks beside you in the hospital room. It waits with you at midnight. It does not solve your sorrow. It dignifies it. It gives shape to your questions and permission to your grief. It does not promise you happiness. It promises you truth. And truth, when carried with love, is more nourishing than joy. You will forget sometimes. You will despair. You will think you failed. But even in forgetting, even in collapse, something remains. The thread. The thread that never breaks, the will to meaning. The same thread that has pulled people out of graveyards, out of addiction, out of war, out of silence. The same thread that once pulled me through days when I didn't believe the sun would rise again. You are not different from those people. You are not less worthy, not less strong. What you carry is heavy, yes, but you do not carry it alone. Your suffering is yours, but its echo is universal. And in that echo, there is kinship. In that echo, there is something almost sacred, a shared ache that connects all of us beyond words, beyond belief, beyond even time. If you've suffered, you are not far from meaning. You are close. You are closer than you've ever been. The door is cracked. The question is open. And the question, once again, is not why did this happen? The question is, what now? What does this ask of you? Not as punishment, as invitation. You may not have answers. But if you can keep asking, if you can stay open, if you can walk with the not knowing, then you are doing the most holy work there is. You are shaping a life that no one else can live. You are becoming someone forged by truth, not by ease. And that is a gift to the world. Even now, there is beauty. You may not see it. You may not be ready. That's okay, but it is there. In the way your breath continues without permission. In the way a stranger's kindness moves you more than it should. Here I, and in the way your eyes fill with tears, not just for yourself, but for others. That tenderness, that is meaning incarnate. You are not here by accident. You were not born just to consume or to achieve or to perform. You were born to become. And becoming is painful. Becoming is relentless. Becoming requires surrender. But it also gives you back to yourself, the self that is not afraid to feel. The self that is not ashamed to break. The self that knows there is no resurrection without loss. I no longer seek to be understood. I seek only to live in alignment with what my suffering has taught me. And it has taught me this, that the soul expands under pressure, that love is stronger than fear, and that meaning is not given to us. We are called to give it, moment by moment, breath by breath. So if you are looking for a sign, let this be it. Not the sign that says it's over, the sign that says it has begun, that your becoming is underway, that your sorrow was not for nothing, that the fire has not destroyed you, it has refined you. You will not return to who you were. You were never meant to. That version of you was too small for what is now being asked. And yes, what is asked may feel impossible, but it isn't. You were made for this, not made to suffer, but made to make suffering speak, to turn it into insight, into mercy, into presence. You will look back someday, not to erase the pain, but to bless it, to thank it for what it gave you that nothing else could. You will look back and realize it wasn't that you survived, it was that you chose to survive with your soul intact, and that choice is the most sacred act a human being can offer this world. I leave you with this not as advice, but as remembrance, that there is no moment, no grief, no exile so deep that it cannot be met with a deeper response. That even in the coldest silence you are being asked a question, and your answer, your quiet, trembling, unfinished answer, is meaning. And that is more than enough.